Welcome to The Daily Show.
Thank you for having me.
Such an exciting time to have you here. I'm surprised that you made it. I thought you would have gone back to the country that you came from. Have you figured out where that is yet? Is it Wakanda? Is it like where is it? Where is this world? Like, do you ever think about that tweet from the president and go like, where is it?
You know what? In all seriousness, I wish that I could, feign surprise or some inflated outrage.
Right.
It's a very predictable prompt from someone who has a long history of not only racist rhetoric, but racist actions, and every day is rolling out racist, xenophobic policies. And this goes way back, from leading the birther movement, to not renting to African Americans, to leading the charge for capital punishment and the death penalty for what we know now today is the exonerated 5. And so this is really just par for the course, but I took his advice. I went home, went back to the Massachusetts 7th, which delivered me. And what I learned there is that they see right through Donald Trump, the occupant of this White House. And to be clear, I call him the occupant not because I dishonor the office, but because he does. We went from... we went from a president who sang Amazing Grace to one who displays zero of it. And he does not embody the responsibility, the integrity, the empathy, the compassion of a president, and so I will not call him that. But, we find ourselves in truly unprecedented times, and the residents of the Massachusetts 7th said to me they see right through him. And, this is really a distraction. These are things that he does to distract us from the corruptness, the chaos, and the callousness of this administration. But I can't pretend that this rhetoric is not dangerous. It is exactly why El Paso happened.
Let's talk a little bit about the country as it stands. As a lawmaker, you are in a unique position where you can do more than most people to try and change America in a way that, polls have shown even that people wanted to change. Let's talk about the shootings. On the one hand, you have, the white supremacy, and, we've heard you speak about that. But, everyone has agreed on one commonality, and that is guns. Whether the person's a white supremacist, whether the person is mentally ill, whether the person is inspired by somebody or just lashing out, the gun is the common factor. What do you think America can do about people's easy access to guns?
Okay, well, first I want to say that, yes, guns are the common factor, and the common enemy in all of this is Mitch McConnell. And so I just want to ask all of you, so please give him a call and say I sent you. I'm not sure he'll answer, he's probably in Russia, but on the off chance that he is actually doing his job, lobby him at 202-224-2541. Why haven't we acted? Why haven't we acted? This gun violence is a public health crisis and epidemic. This is an urban issue. It is a rural issue. It is a suburban issue. It is transcendent. It is a public health crisis and epidemic. It is pervasive and it is growing. New Zealand had a mass shooting, and shortly thereafter they banned assault weapons. So why haven't we acted? Because of a deficit of political courage and leadership, despite a mandate, from American citizens from every walk of life. Now, here's the other thing that I want to say is important. So tomorrow, we could save millions of lives by passing the assault weapons ban. I mean, again, New Zealand acted in a matter of days and banned assault weapons, right? We could pass an assault weapons ban. We could pass universal background checks. I also want to give a shout out to my sister in service, Robin Kelly out of Illinois, because we also have to address straw purchasing and gun trafficking. We need to hold two narratives. There are mass shootings and there's community-based violence. And we also know that there are more guns than people. And for as long as that is the case, you are going to see an intersectionality of violence. Violence begets violence. How many mass shooters and perpetrators of violence were also abusers of women? These things are all interconnected. And so we need to hold space for both community-based violence, for mass shootings. We need to prioritize whether we are robbed of a life. They're not lost, they're stolen. On a city block, gang affiliated or not, or due to domestic terrorism, at a mosque, a synagogue, a church, or a school, every life matters. We've got to hold narrative for both. And then finally, An issue that I led on in my 8-year tenure on the Boston City Council, and I'm so proud in my 6-month tenure as a Congresswoman to have convened the first hearing in the history of Congress in the Oversight and Reform Committee on childhood trauma. We have got to address the residual trauma that gun violence is leaving in its wake that is choking at the promise of our communities.
Wow.
You know, it's just like, honestly, you know, Trevor, honestly, it's really just about equitable outrage, equitable justice, and equitable healing. And that's the work that I'm doing every day.
It's interesting that you say that because you have been really focused on looking at some of the byproducts and the causes of additional violence in America. You know, as a victim of trauma yourself, you have always said that you have to work on it. You know, I know what that's like. Many of us, unfortunately, know what that is like. How do you think America goes about that? I mean, America can't even get to a place where, you know, the country pays its teachers enough. How do you get to a place where you design a system that helps people who have mental scars from gun violence?
Yeah, well, you know, one of the issues that I've championed, and I was successful in this appropriation cycle in getting an additional $5 million allocated towards school-based health centers. We need social-emotional wellness supports. You know, within our schools, trauma is a barrier to learning, and much of that trauma is due to domestic violence or gun violence, some exposure to violence, but also trauma is taking on many manifestations in this day and age. Trauma is displacement. Trauma is experiencing homelessness. Trauma is poverty. Trauma is food insecurity. Trauma is the fear of deportation. And so these are all barriers to learning, but forget the fact that they impact a child's ability to learn. This is just about people, our children, growing up to be whole, well-functioning people that can bring to bear their full contribution. Now, for adults, what I'm working on is a Survivor's Bill of Rights. For those who have been robbed of loved ones, it's so important that in this work, that we are doing it from a lens that is survivor-led and victim-centered. And so that's what I'm doing every day.
Let's talk about the deportations. You know, one of the stories that really, really broke people's hearts recently was that of the raids in Mississippi, where, you know, people were rounded up and they were working and they were taken away, and then you saw their kids crying, and many people said, how are we doing this? These people are working, you know, in American plants, making American food, and all of a sudden they're just kicked out of the country. There is a constant battle in America between what some people would, you know, term secure borders, and also the reality of immigrants who have come into the United States and are undocumented and have lived here and contribute and pay taxes, etc. Firstly, do you think people who hire these immigrants should also face some sort of ramification? You know, the corporations just get to do it again and it doesn't seem to affect them. And secondly, what can America do to find an immigration system that actually works?
Yeah, well, so let me just say this. I went to the border. All right. Now, I don't represent a border community, but I represent the Massachusetts 7th is 40% immigrant. And so due to the xenophobic rhetoric and policies, I mean, this has been a strategic and coordinated attack against immigrants, from the immigration status question to HUD's policy to ban mixed immigration status households, to the announcement today of public charge, which would deny those that are on a pathway to green cards and visas. It would deny them if they have ever applied for Medicaid or for food stamps. I mean, this is unconscionable. You know, your book is so aptly titled Born a Crime. Here we have an administration that is criminalizing and vilifying people simply for how they show up in the world. We have no say in where we are born. And we are criminalizing and vilifying people simply for how they show up in the world and for seeking asylum, which is a legal human right. And you're right, we need to not only address asylum seekers, but we have to address TPS holders. I mean, what's temporary about people who have been contributing to our culture, to civic life, and to our economy for 10, 15, 20 years? Right. So, you know, we have to develop a path to citizenship for TPS holders, for DACA recipients, and we have to not criminalize asylum seekers. Now, what you were talking about that happened in Mississippi, and what I saw at the border has haunted me, and it has left me uncomfortable, but I'm okay with that, because when we stay uncomfortable, we don't allow ourselves to grow complacent. You know, I urge every member of Congress to go to this board, to go to any border community, and to bear witness to the trauma that I saw there. It is dehumanizing, it is demoralizing. Women who only spoke Spanish, and I don't, but I didn't need to speak Spanish to understand suffering as they wailed for their children. And the worst part of this, if it could get any worse, is that we've been here before as a nation with slaves at auction blocks, on reservations with indigenous people. You know, the most effective tool to oppress a people is to separate families and to take children specifically away from their mothers. And here we find ourselves again. And the fact that this is happening on American soil because of the occupant of this White House is unconscionable. And so what we need is policy that allows families to settle in community. I mean, 80% of the asylum seekers here have family members here. They could have sponsors right away. So they should be allowed to stay. We should prioritize family preservation, people settling in community, waiting review of their case. And then we need a system that works, because right now, the current system, it is doing what it was designed to do. And that is what is most sobering and upsetting about all of this.
Wow. Powerful words. Powerful plans. Thank you so much for being on the show. Wonderful having you here. I'm excited to see what else you get up to. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, everybody.